Power.
Good morning. We got power. We are going to start it. It's beautiful, all right? Yeah. Let me tell you, if you are awake, you can feel your pulse or your heartbeat, and you can breathe perfectly well. Just go there and make it work. It's as simple as that. Imagine there's nothing stopping. Ama niaje Mike mzee wa makuts.
Just go out there and make sure that
wewe jikaze tu. Jikaze tu.
Yes.
We are all here for Good Morning Kenya. Good morning. My name is Victor Lo. It's a beautiful 18th day of February 2026. It's raining in the city and some across the country actually, some places. But the 80 billion shillings, ladies and gentlemen, that is being pumped to the Nairobi County to take care of garbage, traffic and water shortages. I'm just imagining these 80 billion shillings, Regina, from the business desk, if this money was to be shared to some schools, perhaps, to the education system, perhaps, to some place in the north, perhaps, to drill water, perhaps. I'm just trying to imagine and what Nairobi County is able to collect as revenue. This is to all of you, starting with you, Vivian. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, 80 billion shillings is a lot of money. And, well, we may say that, yes, Nairobi needs it, but does Nairobi County really need it as much as some other very important situations or services in this country? I mean, when you talk about even school capitations, how have we looked into that? I think there was a story, if not yesterday, then the day before yesterday, of the fact that children in grade 10 are yet to receive textbooks. To date, we are almost ending February and they will be getting the books. I believe the ministry had mentioned that they will be receiving all the books by end of February. But by end of February, what have these children been using since January, since they reported to school? So I'm trying to think, this money, well, I don't know what logic went into that, because I'm sure they had they sat down and thought about it. But I feel like Nairobi can be able to make its own revenue. I don't know how much exactly Nairobi makes in a day, but I believe it's in millions of shillings, if not billions. So that's just my take. I feel like that money should have been put elsewhere.
Well, let me answer your question, Vivian and Mike. You've asked on general terms,
yes,
how much does Nairobi County generate in own sales revenue? So according to the audited report between the financial year 2024-2025, Nairobi County raised 12.8 billion shillings.
12?
And 12.8 billion shillings in the financial year 2024-2025 own source revenue. And its target actually then was 19 billion. Now, in 1 month, I think in the month of May, they raised 200 million. Own source revenue.
Yes.
You're talking about own source revenue within Nairobi, the capital city of the country.
So it's a county that can actually just sustain itself.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that's why when stakeholders converge, especially within the private sector, they demand better services. It's because money indeed is generated.
Yes.
And when you talk about own source revenue, you're maybe asking through what avenues does Nairobi raise these particular monies. You're looking at monies from rental income. You know, buildings and such.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
There's so much, or rather the city has so many resources and so many assets within its purview. And, you know, it does not commensurate, you know, the services that are trickling down to the occupants of the Central Business District. Also, just looking at FKE reports, it indicates that over 80% of workstations are domiciled within the Central Business District and its environs.
Yeah.
So basically, it's the heartbeat. You know, it's the heartbeat.
Yes.
And I like the word you used earlier, Victor, when you feel the pulse.
Yeah.
Nairobi is the pulse, the nerve center of this particular country. So if it is ailing, you can imagine now what other counties are actually feeling, given that that is, how the city is reacting to the current, governance and leadership style that we've had. Well, I don't know. I was just chiming in since you asked in terms of money. Those are the figures.
When it comes to matters of priority, we have situations in the country that require serious attention and fiscal muscle to ensure that things work. We look at the situation in the northern part of the country. That is one of the things that needs serious attention. So it also boils down to the kind of priorities, what we are prioritizing in our country as what matters. So to me, it's a case of priorities.
Yeah.
Where are our priorities? Yeah.
I mean, also, what of the question of graft?
Yes, and this one, this is just the same thing as NMS,
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah.
And Governor Sakaja said that when NMS exited the scene, the county had a huge, that's around 18 to 19 billion shillings of pending bills. So they had to grapple on how they are going to settle it. Anyway, we are going to be having that discussion with Dr. Daniel Olekanchori. He's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and also strategic management expert, as well as Kevin Osido, who is the executive director of the County Governors Watch. They'll be here. Let's talk about that at exactly 7, all right? And just to understand what it's all about. So, yeah, Vivian. Good morning once again.
Good morning once again, and a very good morning to each and every one of you who is watching the show. There's also something else that, we had mentioned with Ray, away from the cameras, that this is the first time we're seeing this in 100 years. And that is the country, or almost all religions rather, are in that prayer session at the same time. This never happens. It is the first time it's happening in 100 years. So, we have Ash Wednesday today, and I believe our Muslim brothers and sisters are starting their prayers, if not today, tomorrow. I believe today. Fadili, correct me if I'm wrong. And then even the Buddhists, like all the religions, are starting their prayers today. So it's wonderful, it's a powerful thing, and imagine this is happening. The last time it happened was 100 years ago. Can you imagine? Alignment for sure, and that is a beautiful thing. And as Ray had put it, something has to change. I don't know in what way.
Something has to happen, because if you go down history, I'm sorry for interjecting, if you go down history and you look at what exactly happened 100 years back, there was a renaissance. There was a shift in geopolitics of that time. So you can imagine faithfuls of all major religions are for the first time in 100 years converging in prayer.
Yeah.
Buddhists, Muslims, Christian faithfuls. I mean, something has to change. As they say, we move in the spirit. And now you can imagine how many billions of people are going to be in prayer?
At the same time.
At the same time. At the same period.
Powerful indeed.
So
now,
it happened in 1926?
Yes.
100 years ago.
1926, yes.
Yeah.
Where were you?
Actually, it was in 1925, and in the preceding, 1925. Around the same time, and there was a shift in the global matrix, so to speak. I think we can do some bit of research and see, and just see what changed then. And what place does matters of faith and religion and spirituality have to play, in the change of history's mankind. The history of mankind, right? Yeah.
All right, on our conversation of the day, Matters Women at the Forefront, we will be looking at breaking the barriers. I will be joined by women engineers as we talk about their triumphs and trials as a female engineers of this country. I will be joined by one engineer, Barbara A. Athoch, who is the CEO, Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. We'll also have engineer Faith Mutoko, and she is the manager and registration and licensing services engineers. She's the manager, Registration and Licensing Services Engineers Board of Kenya. They will be here to just let us in on their side of the story as a female engineers. So for the ladies who would love to follow that trail, this particular show will be specifically for you. Mike?
Indeed. Let's talk about transition to an inclusive green energy within the whole context of climate financing, given that inclusion, especially when it comes to gender inclusion and looking at the women, that they hold a third of the roles in renewable energy and climate financing. So what needs to happen, and how do we finance, how does climate financing has to happen in a fair manner? I'll be joined by Peter Othengo, who is the head of climate financing and green economy at the National Treasury. That is a conversation that will be coming to you at exactly 8 a.m. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning to you once again. And now we've already brought you up to speed with what we saw yesterday evening in terms of the transfer of some of the functions of the Nairobi County to another faction, so to speak, to the national government, so to speak. But then, what does this mean? So, Giverson Minor prepared an analysis and what stakeholders as well as experts have to say in regard to this particular shift. And here is this particular report. Remembering, this is a conversation that Victor is going to be steering in not too long, and you can be part and parcel of this conversation. You can get us on X. Now, let us look at that report made by Giverson Minor, where the cooperation agreement between Nairobi county government and the national government has raised concerns over its constitutionality. But pundits say the move may quickly put Nairobi back to order, especially under a neutral entity akin to Lieutenant General Mohammed Badi's Nairobi Metropolitan Service, NMS, during Mike Sonko's tenure. However, analysts opine that the corporation points to a failure by Sakaja's government to deliver services to Nairobi residents. Giverson Minor puts this into perspective.
Analysts say the sealing of the cooperation agreement was just a matter of time.
Nairobi is another big slum, like Mathare, like Kibera, like wherever else. Maybe those places are better than the capital city here. And we are about to host major events, global events from AFCON 2027. So for me, this cooperation was long overdue.
Governance expert Esther Waringa says for 3 years, the county government has performed dismally in areas of garbage collection, road maintenance, and water supply, among others, necessitating the move.
Look at the sewerage. Look at the worst of it all, water in Nairobi. People in Kilimani and Ravington are buying water from the tankers. And again, look at the infrastructure development. Kilimani is almost becoming another Eastlands. Who is faring where?
She argues that bringing Nairobi back to order is often hindered by politics, and a neutral entity akin to NMS headed by the military may succeed.
I want to bring Kenyans closer to the few months that the Nairobi Metropolitan Service was actually on the ground. What did we see? A lot of coordination, a lot of discipline. Our Uhuru Park was almost becoming another international park.
However, some quotas, including the Nairobi senator, have warned that the move may be unconstitutional. Analysts say it was a mistake to make Nairobi a county in the first instance.
A public service system of governance should govern Nairobi away from a political system. Playing politics with Nairobi services is dangerous. Playing politics with a capital city that we visualize to be a continental and a global pace setter on socio-economic development.
The city will continue to be governed as a county government.
Is it cooperation or transfer of functions? Sakaja says he's still in charge.
We'll be keeping tabs on the development in regard to that as we continue just getting views from various quarters to that move that was made yesterday. Does it mean better for Nairobi residents, given that it is this Nairobi is the capital city of the country there? Does it mean better services, service delivery, and better governance going forward? Well, it's a matter of wait and see, and we welcome your feedback in regard to that matter. Now we cross over to matters education, and this comes in terms of, a lot has been raised in terms of grade 10 joining school, some going without books. But then the government has submitted to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations a report of an audit carried out by the Ministry of Education, which revealed the existence of 973,634 ghost learners in public schools. Speaking after leading an inspection tour of government projects, including Lenana Primary School in Nairobi, Basic Education Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok said 28 sub-county education directors will be investigated for culpability in the 912 million shilling scandal that saw ghost learners allocated money in the third term of 2025.
Speaking at Lenana Primary School in Nairobi, Basic Education Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok revealed that administrative action has already begun, with 28 sub-county directors of education facing action over their suspected role in allowing inflated student numbers within their jurisdictions.
I've already written letters for show cause for 28 sub-county directors of education around the country who are anticipated to be culpable, and they have to show cause why they should not be disciplined.
The announcement came as PS Bitok inspected a newly constructed classroom at Lenana Primary School in line with the government's nationwide rollout of education infrastructure to support the competency-based education.
This school is now in grade 6, grade 7, and within this year, we have to ensure that the junior school, grade 7, 8, and 9, are constructed just around there.
Today, what excites me is that we have found children are enjoying their basic rights to education.
Earlier, Bitok, with his gender counterpart Anne Wangombe, Fikirene Jacobs of Youth Affairs, and Karen Agango of Children Welfare, also visited the Center of Excellence for Urology and Nephrology, a specialized medical facility.
But it's fair that sometimes you come down here, you get to appreciate, you see, what is really happening.
What we have seen today is just but a small fraction of what this government, under the leadership of His Excellency the President, has done in this country.
We read our books and learn so much more.
Now, we have been carrying out a series of, just tracking the state of drought across at least 10 counties there. We will be just doing a recap of one of the counties that our team is currently at to just look at the ripple effect, socio-economic effect of the drought there. But before we get there, let's bring you up to speed with what is happening in as far as health is concerned and the consumption of tobacco. With Kenyans from all walks of life actually expressing their concern and their sentiments in regard to the proposed amendments in the Tobacco Amendment Bill. This is a report prepared by John Kahiro.
The Tobacco Control Amendment Bill of 2024, currently before the Senate, has sparked criticism from members of the Bar, Hotels and Liquor Traders Association.
One of the things ambayo tuko na shida nayo sana ni ya kwamba ilipitia through public participation that we were not involved.
Sponsored by nominated Senator Catherine Muma, the bill proposes, among other measures, a ban on flavored vapes and nicotine pouches, arguing such products are attractive to minors.
Banning flavors in these products will immediately open doors to a flood of illicit products in the country as the market seeks to produce the genuine products which will have been locked out because of the ban.
The traders also raised concerns over a possible increase in illicit tobacco products.
Why are you banning flavors? Hizi products mpya ambazo zimekuja zinasaidia mtu ambaye anavuta sigara ili maafa ya kuvuta sigara ipungue.
The association has now called on the Senate to reject the bill in its entirety, guiding the production and the sale of tobacco and nicotine products in the country.
Tayari, we are struggling to pay the licenses that are there. So ukiongeza another license ni kumaanisha unaumiza biashara ya ule mtu yuko pale chini.
Senators are expected to consider the proposals and make necessary amendments at the committee stage.
We continue collecting feedback in regard to that proposed amendment. Now, the drought situation in Tana River County is an evolving disaster. The county is facing an acute water shortage that is threatening both livestock, human lives and livelihoods. According to the National Drought Management Authority, over 185,000 persons, representing approximately 50% of the county's population, need relief food. About 515,000 heads of cattle have also been affected.
The rainfall deficit in Tana River County has resulted in widespread crop failure, lack of pasture, and increased pressure on water resources.
The current drought situation in Tana River started after the poor performance of the long rains, that is the March, April long rains, which were below normal, and then also coupled with the poor performance of the short rains, October, November rains.
This has forced pastoralists to migrate. Isa Mohammed, a livestock keeper from Gururi, has sought refuge in Buradera, 30 kilometers from his home.
Tunashinda kwa hii nini kwa jua. Tunakota tupatie na mkono nyasi ndogo ndogo. Kama 30 hivi sasa wamekufa.
Na unakuta hawa watoto sasa hata wamekosa masomo yao kwa sababu wana move na ile mifugo yao na watoto hakuna mahali ya kuachwa.
Survival of his livestock is dependent on leftover maize stocks within the Tana irrigation scheme.
We, the farmers of Tana irrigation, have been affected by all these livestock because farmers, livestock keepers, they bring inside into our farm in order to graze.
Isa is not the only victim.
Ngombe ambayo ilikuwa tunauza 60,000, 50,000, tunauza 5,000, 4,000, ndama kidogo tunauza hata bei ya kuku.
But how did this arrangement come about?
Kwa hivyo yule mfugaji anakuja, anaelewana na kiongozi ambaye amepatiwa hiyo jukumu, wanaelewana kwa kila eka watakuwa natoa ada kiasi gani.
The National Drought Management Authority in Tana River County says the drought situation could end up in the alarm stage if the rains fail again. Short rain season of October, November and December and the expected depressed rainfall during the long rain seasons of March, April and May is expected to create apprehension among both farmers and livestock keepers in Tana River County.
We are keeping tabs on those particular counties. They are 10 in number. We have a team spread across at least Wajir, Tana River and Kitui, and we'll be having a special report, comprehensive on Thursday, so do save the date. Now we cross over to the Intergovernmental Authority on Matters Development. Member States is rooting for harmonized policies when it comes to matters fishing there. We will have this particular report ready for you and prepared by Benson Thioba in regard to that. Let's have a look at what it means, for matters illegal fishing.
There's an estimated 40 billion shillings annually to illegal fishing activities as it struggles to enforce illegal fishing laws and regulations. The State Department for Blue Economy says efforts to curb illegal fishing are hampered by inadequate funding, monitoring and surveillance equipment challenges.
IUU fishing continues to be an ever-present threat due to the inadequate capacity in the form of physical resources, technology and skills to be deployed in the fight.
This has fueled unsustainable fishing practices, leading to declining population of valuable species and loss of biodiversity in Africa's large marine ecosystem and inland waters.
Fishing is just unequivocally we can provide a term that probably it is an ecological sabotage of an industrial scale.
To curb illegal fishing activities, development partners have been encouraged to enforce the ban of trade of illegal fish in global markets.
A single state solution to combating IUU fishing is not feasible. The incidences being largely transboundary in nature. Therefore, this calls for a coordinated regional effort towards combating this menace in African waters.
IGAD member states lose an estimated 1.3 trillion shillings annually in illegal fishing.
Well, now we cross over to sports, where Kenya has unveiled a 12-month squad ahead of the 57th edition of the Magical Kenya Open as the country prepares for one of the largest events on the sporting calendar. The unveiling ceremony was held at Karen Country Club, with the DP World Tour set to tee off Thursday this week.
This year's tournament will feature a full field of 144 players from more than 30 countries. Kenya as the largest international contingent with 18 players, 12 professional and 6 amateur juniors. The full Kenya squad comprises of Greg Snow, Samuel Chege, Joroge Kibogo, Dismas Indiza, Mutai Kibogo, Daniel Nduva, team captain Edwin Mondani, CJ Wangai, Justus Madoya, Mohit Medirata and Mike Kisa. Officials say increased participation in regional and international tournament has strengthened the squad's readiness heading into the DP World Tour event. Initially, 10 players were submitted to the DP World Tour, with additional reserve slots expanding the final list to 12. The 2026 Magical Kenya Open tees off from February 19th to 22nd at Karen Country Club, setting up 4 days of competition as Kenya players look to make a strong impact on home soil.
Well, that effectively puts matters in the headlines at a stop, but we are opening now up the conversation to you as well as our panel as we discuss the latest cooperation agreement between Nairobi County Government and the national government that has raised concern over constitutionality. Is it a good turn of events, especially for residents? We'll be keeping tabs on that, and Victor Law is going to be steering that conversation in not too long. Do keep it right here. I'm Regina Manyara. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Tunatambulika kwa mandhari yetu ya kuvutia,
tamaduni zetu, ukarimu wetu, vyakula vyetu, uchapakazi,
na pia kwa sauti tofauti za watangazaji wetu waliobobea.
Libengo liko hapa aka upcoming sponsor. Bila shaka hapa ni kama PDG, ma deep state, pia vile cartels.
Tunaenzi talanta za pwani, tunakuza talanta za hapa kwetu nyumbani.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tuko mjengoni kama kawa na wanangu wengine wawili.
Usikose kutegea 103.1 Pwani FM, stesheni ambayo itakupa fursa ya kupata uhondo kamili wa pwani na kuleta Wakenya pamoja.
Pwani FM, tafrija ya kipwani.
Happened. Sunshine just came in there and yelled at me. Did you tick him off again?
Enough, New Life.
Why aren't you sleeping?
And I want to show Sunshine how wrong he is. Changing Dean's class is a personal matter. We'll cover all his night shifts. That follows protocol.
I don't care who comes to work. I just care about the guests.
Can't gamble with love. When it comes to star-crossed lovers, it never ends well.
Jinsi ambavyo binadamu anahitaji lishe bora kwa ajili ya kukua vizuri, basi ndio hivyo kwa mifugo wako. Wanahitaji chakula bora, sio tu chakula. Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tunaangazia Junkao, lishe kwa ng'ombe wako.
Hii nyasi inakuliwa na wanyama wote. Sungura, nguruwe, ng'ombe, mbuzi, kondoo, hata pia kuku. Protein yake iko between 16 and 18%. Ni kama kulisha na dairy milk. Kila siku.
Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
right, welcome back. As we still wait for our guests to arrive, let me take you through the front page of the local dailies, starting with the front page of the Standard, of course. Putting city on sale. This is with regards to what happened yesterday, the collaboration between the national and county government. The Standard reports that Governor Johnson Sakaja's dramatic handshake with President William Ruto has sparked off a political storm in the capital. After vowing to make Nairobi quote-unquote work, the youthful politician now stands accused of quietly surrendering core county functions to the very center he once promised to challenge. Critics see echoes of the old NMS takeover. Allies call it pragmatic rescue. But for residents choking on garbage, traffic and water shortages, the 80 billion shillings deal feels like collaboration and more like an auction. That is a story on the front page of the Standard, and the gentleman on the front page is the governor himself, Johnson Sakaja. Okay. The story continues on the inner page. To Ruto in deal to revamp county, that is Nairobi. Governor signed documents letting the central government take care of street lighting and roads. The deal has that had all the hallmarks of NMS in Uhuru's regime has split opinions. And now, when he sought the office, the man appeared to have all it takes to be a good Nairobi boss. The charm, the quick smile, that would include a pat on the back. For supporters, the energy and clean-cut dressing style won many a heart during campaigns. But now it seems that it has gone the only way out. And now, only last week, Sakaja denied claims that a deal such as what materialized yesterday was in the offing. When Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna said it would be illegal if implemented, that the governor said that was fake news because no powers or functions had been ceded to the national government. And I remember having some late night call with my colleague Regina about this. The problem that her mic is already off. We'd have gone back there. Regina, if you know. So Sifuna told Sakaja that for such a deal to work constitutionally, there had been a deed of transfer of functions which has to be improved or approved rather by the county assembly. So what it takes is that the 80 billion shillings cooperation agreement signed with the president administration comes at a time when the capital has been grappling with challenges such as ineffective garbage collection, incessant traffic jams, insecurity, poor maintenance of county infrastructure, and increased water shortages. That is what's on the inner pages of the newspaper here. So the national government takeover plan of the capital city is said to have started in September last year, shortly after MCs devised a plan to impeach Sakaja. And if my memory serves me right, the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga had to intervene and had a meeting with the MCAs as well as the county leadership to bring some sort of a truce between or among the warring factions in the county. And in August, Nairobi MCAs began collecting signatures to impeach the governor following a special meeting held on August 26th, 2025, where over 90 MCAs resolved to initiate the process. For the first time, UDA and ODM MCAs were united in their bid to oust Sakaja. That was last year, whom they accused of incompetence. During the special meeting, the MCAs also accused Sakaja of being out of touch with the challenges facing city residents. They also claimed that there were, no tangible projects 3 years since the governor took over the office. So someone would ask, is this politics at play to rescue the county government or the county CEO or the county boss, or is it a genuine collaboration to make Nairobi quote-unquote work? So now, how 80 billion shillings state Nairobi deal will transform city? This is it. After weeks of speculation, now the cat is already now out of the bag. Under the 80 billion shillings deal described as partnership between the national and county government, a team led by Prime Cabinet Secretary, that is Musalia Mudavadi, will join county officials to oversee key projects across the city. All right? So the cooperation agreement signed at State House in Nairobi yesterday will see key areas, 4 of them, namely water and sewerage, roads, bridges and drainage, housing with related infrastructure development. That is about to happen. It also covers the areas to do with the street lighting, of course, solid waste management, and the regeneration of Nairobi rivers. Of course, remember, the president has been talking about, cleaning the entire stretch of the Nairobi River, which had actually begun in sometimes last year. And now there was even a committee which was formed to oversee the process of cleaning the entire Nairobi River. So this is also going to be part of it. The steering committee will oversee the projects, which will be chaired by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, coordinating the national government ministries and agencies deputized by Governor Johnson Sakaja. So the chair is Prime Cabinet Secretary, that is Musalia Mudavadi, and the vice chair will be the governor himself, Johnson Sakaja. The team will include cabinet secretaries alongside county staff. Now, this is what's going to happen. The day-to-day execution of the programs and projects, however, will be handled by the implementation committee, which will be chaired by the governor and comprising principal secretaries from the national government as well as county executive committee members, overseeing corresponding. There is no ceding of, okay, it's a seed of power, but then now there is no handover as that is there. But then it's just a collaboration to make the Nairobi County work. How it's going to work is a matter of time and wait and see. All right, let me come back to when it comes to matters floods. Remember, there was some flood victims some years back in Maimahi. They're saying that they're still waiting for help to come from the national government. Over 60 deaths actually occurred during that time, and they are now seeking answers. As many as some of them suffered physical and mental trauma. 2 years later, they blame the Kenya Railways for the incident and are also still actually demanding action to prevent such kind of future tragedies. This happens even as the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki led resettlement program distributing title deeds and 20,000 shillings each to 105 affected landowners. Many are yet to come to terms with the effects of the tragedy. That happened 2 years later. All right. So this is what's happening when it comes to matter security. Security team recovers 18 guns, hundreds of stolen livestock in Isiolo crackdown. That is some good news there. That is the latest haul brings the total number of illegal firearms seized since the operation began 2 weeks ago to 23. 23 guns so far seized. The exercise, which targets illegal arms, cattle rustling, highway banditry and related crimes, has also led to the recovery of huge amount of stolen livestock. That is what is in Isiolo. Good news, and we hope that it's going to stop. Now, the Council of Governors and the Treasury are actually on collision course as Council asks for 534 billion shillings. The Council of Governors is actually proposing that counties, all the 47 of them, be allocated 534.96 billion shillings. The Treasury wants to allocate 420 billion shillings, just 5 billion shillings more than last year. Remember, there has been a lot of back and forth between the county government, that is the Council of Governors, and the national government, plus the Treasury, to allocate more funds to the devolved units. And now they have actually raised that figure from 420 billion shillings, right, to 534 billion shillings, perhaps in the next budget. The revenue that the county government wanted allocated to them, the amount of share was 115 billion shillings. That was a revenue battle between the two bodies, that's the COG and the National Treasury. The amount shared revenue allocated to county in the last financial year was 415 billion shillings, but now they want that money raised. So the Council of Governors is proposing that counties be allocated 534.96 billion shillings as equitable share, while the Commission on Revenue Allocation recommends that they get only 458.94 billion shillings. Now, the National Treasury proposes an allocation of 420 billion shillings. So clearly what it is that there is going to be a bit of some boardroom negotiations, back and forth correspondences as to what the county government should get and what the National Treasury is proposing to be given as the equitable share. So the COG chairperson, Ahmed Abdullahi, said that the proposed allocation represents just 106.7 billion shillings increment, comprising of 35 billion shillings being an adjustment for revenue growth. The 8.94 billion shillings budget requirement to transition of the universal health care workers, which has been a very big thorn in the flesh to the county government. So the Wajir governor said that under the draft budget policy statement, ordinary shareable, that's basically the shareable revenue, is projected to grow from 2.64 trillion shillings in financial year 2025-2026 to 2.98 trillion shillings, which is 13% growth, and 342.6 billion shillings in absolute terms. So that is basically what's there. Whether it is going to work in favor of the county government is a matter of wait and see, as that is still under process. So President pledges to raise education budget to 65 billion shillings. That is, President William Ruto has announced that the education budget will be increased to 765 billion shillings in the next financial year. All right. Speaking during the inaugural graduation ceremony of the Nairobi National Intelligence and Research University, the president said that the increased allocation will support ongoing education reforms and help to stabilize funding gaps affecting the key programs in the education sector. Okay, to some news now. CS Mbadi now urges Sifuna and Babu factions to consider ceasefire talks. He actually met the Luo Council of Elders yesterday, and that is from Nairobi, Council of Elders from Nairobi. And yesterday they said that they're trying to create some kind of synergy between the two factions. The Treasury Cabinet Secretary said that he's also ready to have a sit-down with opposing camp. ODM is currently split into two. We have got the Oburu Odinga faction as well as the Edwin Sifuna faction. All right. So the former ODM national chairperson is among pro-government ODM leaders who insist actually that who insist to support President William Ruto's re-election in 2027. Is also opposed to a faction led by Secretary General, that is Edwin Sifuna. And he also wants the party to field its own candidates. Actually, he is opposed to that, but Edwin Sifuna says that the party should field the candidate. Now, yesterday, Mbadi invited the Luo Council of Elders, Nairobi chapter, to his office at the Treasury, where he struck a more reconciliatory tone. The CS actually, in his speech, said that he was ready to have a sit-down with the Sifuna-led wing to try and understand their reason for insisting that they would not work with President William Ruto in 2027. All right. There's a lot of politics here, and there is a story here which says that Governor Wanga was booed in Kisumu, but insists that ODM is intact. The governor, who made an impromptu visit to Ahero Market, was booed by a section of the crowd as she addressed residents. A section of the crowd chanted Embakasi East MP Babu Wino's name, while others chanted anti-Ruto slogan. So that is politics. We just leave it at that. Why opposition postponed their retreat amid flag bearer dispute? There is an explainer here, as reported by The Standard, that leaders clash over scientific poll versus experience and regional influence. You remember yesterday, if you watched our yesterday's show, there was that debate where I asked my guests, that is Richard Busiri was here. We also had Professor Emmanuel Mutisia, who was also here. And I asked them, and of course, Omwami, Wafula Mutacho, I asked them a question where the scientific method was going to work or popularity or experience. That is now being reported here on The Standard. So, you know, when it comes to picking a presidential or a suitable presidential flag bearer, there has to be a procedure. So one of them was a scientific method, which I asked yesterday. And now Kitui Senator Wambua accuses Matiang'i of creating confusion deliberately. Okay, that was supposed to happen last weekend. The retreat between Kalonzo Musyoka and DCP party leader, that is former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, but that did not take off. And it's also said that there are some warring factions. The much anticipated United Opposition retreat in Naivasha, originally scheduled for 2 days, has been postponed amid growing disagreements over the formula for selecting the presidential flag bearer for next year's general election. While opposition leaders insist that the retreat was delayed due to allow them to pressure Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja to arrest police officers who allegedly colluded with goons to disrupt a church service in Othaya, that seems not to be the case. Makwini Senator Dan Manzo said that the retreat was postponed to give the principal time to focus on ensuring that the perpetrators of Witima violence are prosecuted. But The Standard can now report differently. And finally, on politics, on The Standard, Speaker suspends MP Kibagendi over quote-unquote auctioned house remarks. Again, the reason why: he was actually barred from the precincts of the National Assembly, he was suspended from the House, and he was also actually barred from using his official parliament office. So until a written apology is submitted to the clerk of the National Assembly, of which the Speaker said must be verified to be to the standard of the National Assembly requests, so, and actually standing orders. So MP6 probe into controversial ownership of Miwani Sugarland. That's according to Suba South MP Mheshimiwa Karoli Omondi. That is what is here. All right, let me take you to the front page of the Daily Nation. Push for Ruto, Uhuru truce. There you have it. Push for Ruto, Uhuru truce. Just last week, there was also a report that there is a truce to reconsider and reconcile the two gentlemen, that is former President Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua. And now there's also a report here that there's a push for Ruto Uhuru truce. So is it a case of a ceasefire? President William Ruto and his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta in recent years have had some frosty relations that never thawed even after the 2022 powers transfer. Lately, the tension between the two former allies turned rivals has only eased twice, albeit through short-lived public shows of camaraderie in 2024 and 2025. Last weekend, Ethiopia's Prime Minister, that is Abiy Ahmed, tried to reunite the duo. The question is, will the truce hold? That is what's here on the Daily Nation. It's also reported on the front page of the Nation that State House and Sakaja signed deal to run Nairobi County. City, President William Ruto and Governor Johnson Sakaja witnessed the signing at State House of a cooperation agreement to improve services in key areas and sectors of the county, but insisted that the arrangement did not mirror the Nairobi Metropolitan Service style kind of takeover, which was there. The story is there on the inner pages. Now, you remember the story about Kenyans joining the Russian army and perhaps war. So ex-soldiers among 33 Kenyans, new Kenyan recruits for Russian war. 3 ex-soldiers, not 3, ex-soldiers among 33 new Kenyan recruits for Russian war. Even though we've had a lot of complaints and, concerns as to how Kenyans ended up in Russia and actually into the military there, we can still see some of them making their way there. All right? So that is on the inner pages. I'll come back to politics when it comes to the truths. Ex-KDF soldiers among 33 fresh recruits in Russian war. It says that 8 Kenyans are either missing or dead, while the fate of 27 is unclear, according to the government. According to Ambassador, the lists locations where Kenyans are stationed, and now there's a lot of it. Tales from the war front, and basically what is happening. Mudavadi is expected to travel to Moscow for high-level talks on the backdoor recruitments and why this is happening, and perhaps whether it is legitimate, should it continue, should it be stopped. The Prime Cabinet Secretary is scheduled to travel to Moscow. This is because they are lured by the prospects of big payouts. The new recruits have also thrown, even as the number of Kenyan casualties rises. That is what is here. So there's a lot of apprehension that the missing Kenyans may never be traced, because returnees say that the people killed in action are often buried in mass graves, okay, at the war front. So a confidential brief by Prime Cabinet Secretary and Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, that is Musalia Mudavadi, dated February 9th, contains the latest figures. That is as of January 23rd, 2026. The mission has identified a total of 95 Kenyans involved in the Russian military operation. 95 Kenyans. And out of this, 27 have been repatriated, 8 are reported missing in action or deceased. And now 33 are new conscripts, while 27 remain unknown. That is the status, according to the report. That is what I have here. Let me come back to a bit of some politics, all right? The clash in Addis Ababa, inside mediation efforts to reconcile Ruto and Uhuru, private grievances, regional peace talks, and 2027 politics collide as AU leaders quietly intervene to stop Kenya's rivals from derailing diplomacy and domestic stability. And it is also, according to the Standard, is that in a quiet upset of diplomatic protocol, Kenya's simmering leadership feud burst into the African Union, that is Guild, corridors last week as President William Ruto and former President Uhuru Kenyatta reportedly clashed in a closed-door meeting hosted by Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, sanctioned by Great Lakes presidents. The high-stakes hurdle aimed to defrost their mutual chill and revive stalled peace negotiations in the Democratic Republic of Congo's Wharton East, a theater where Nairobi's steady hand has long been inseparable. So this inclusive reconstitution drawn from fly to the wall of counties or the multiple aids, participants and sources debriefing immediately after the closed door Sunday evening meeting on the sidelines of the 39th African Union Summit revealed that just personal barbs, but profound publication for Kenya's global standing. So is there a bid to close ranks between the two statesmen? That is what I have here on the inner pages of the Standard. And finally, before we take a break, ODM position weak in talks with Ruto. That is the inner pages of the Standard. Analysts say that most party supporters appear to have thrown their weight behind Senator Sifuna's team. So Osotsi say that the party founded by Raila Odinga should exploit its massive support to field presidential candidate in the 2027 general election. ODM position, quote-unquote, weak in talks with Ruto. That is here. ODM is actually intended to flaunt its traditional support base in numerical strength in parliament when demanding higher stakes in a pre-election deal with UDA. All right, so that is what it comes to the front pages of the Standard and the inner pages, as well as the Standard and the Daily Nation. Allow me to take a quick break. I need to have a cup of coffee. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Semana Spokes from Nagava.
Semana Spokes is the platform where Wananchi engage, query the government, and the government responds. It's your time to be informed. Don't miss Bonga Nagava every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Semana Spokes.
Select a chesa dopa once from the top.
Wakati sina wanipa nitakacho,
suti imemkaa vyema hata nzi ya mshaka, tusijifanye mateka wa kukitupa cha kwetu.
Cheti akina nafasi yoyote katika maisha ya mwanadamu. Je, ni kweli?
Vyeti vingi vinadhibitisha kuwa mwanafunzi amehudhuria masomo.
Aliwa lazima awe na cheti ili kudhibiti pale anapozaliwa na penye ametoka.
Mtajie maana ya fanani katika kazi ya fasihi.
Kielezi cha idadi.
Kielezi cha idadi.
Kielezi cha wakati.
Kielezi cha wakati. Wapige makofi.
Allah alimwamuru ajenge safina kubwa ambayo aliweza kuwaingiza binadamu na pia wanyama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aliteremsha mvua na mafuriko makubwa ambayo yaliweza kuwasomba wale wote waliokuwa hawajapanda kwenye jahazi lile.
Ni mambo gani ukiwa nayo kama mwanadamu utakuwa umepata faida kubwa hapa duniani na kesho akhera?
Na ikukataze maovu. Alhasru, jipambe na tabia njema, kusema ukweli, kuwa na rahma, uwe mtu wa kusamehe. Alhasru, mtu mwenye kutoa ile amana, kujipamba na tabia njema.
Masjid ni kitovu cha mshikamano, ni mahali ambapo familia nzima hukutana, vijana hujifunza stadi za maisha na watoto hukua wakilelewa katika misingi ya imani.
Welcome back. I have my cup of coffee, branded KBC. Now this power to the breakfast show. Let's do this on the front page of the Star newspaper. Okay. Kindiki factor, how DP fight is shaking ODM. UDA poll talks, that is on the front page of the Star. There's that Kindiki factor. Remember that pronouncement by ODM leader, that is Dr. Oburu Odinga, when it comes to the position of the deputy president. He talked about it, and that is basically why there is that line of power coming from. And ODM leader Oburu Odinga has said that his party targets the number 2 position. That is the base of this Kindiki factor, how DP fight is shaking ODM and UDA poll talks, the pre-election. And some of them are actually proposing that they need to have a pre-election coalition talks so that some of these functions are ironed out beforehand. Now, how is it going to affect the position of the deputy president? The deputy president, Kithure Kindiki, is intact and will remain with the UDA and with him. And if I can paraphrase, the position of the deputy president, iko hapa, okay? And on this other side, ODM leader Oburu Odinga said that they are eyeing that position too in the executive. That is the position of the deputy president. So the Kindiki factor, how is it going to affect the UDA and ODM poll talks? That is the front page of the Star newspaper, and it actually continues on the inner pages on that position. Now, when it comes to the position of the deputy president, it is quite often clear that the position of that, the selection or who is supposed to be the deputy president is a person who is most likely to influence the win in the general election. When it comes to the county government, the selection of or picking a running mate most likely influences the outcome of an election. So it is a very thin line and a delicate balancing act, if you ask me, for the president and the ODM. Should they have that pre-election talks on who is going to be the next deputy president? So here it is on the front page of the Star newspaper. All right. It continues on the inner pages. And why battle for DP job could fracture ODM UDA poll deal? Why it would. And just waiting to see how it's going to happen. The thing is, there's a fierce political battle over President William Ruto's 2027 running mate. Is threatening to derail ODM UDA pre-election negotiations and fracture the broad-based government. And such an outcome could actually deal Ruto a political blow and hand the Kalonzo Musyoka Rigathi Gachagua-led united opposition a potent political weapon. That is what is here. In recent days, allies of Deputy President Kithure Kindiki have also drawn a line in the sand, vowing that it is either their man for the second highest office or no deal at all with the Orange Party. All right. Amid the headline stands from Mount Kenya leaders, Raila Odinga's ODM has also grown more assertive, openly declaring its intentions to go for Kindiki's job. That is basically the position is here, and we all know how the position of Kindiki came to be and what's going to with UDA. Let's come back here. There's a story here. There's a caricature by the Star. Yeah, there's I don't know whether that vehicle is yellow. I don't know whether that vehicle is orange. And who is this gentleman down here? That is Orengo, and I see ODM and Uburu. There's Ngo, and there's Babuino on the other side. So I don't know how it's going to be. Yeah, so I've done all the 3 papers already. The Daily Nation, The Standard, and on the Star. So on the papers, that is what I have here. All right, so Mike, there is a question here. Do you know Muhombero?
Yes.
What is it?
I think it's a route I see people, especially men, take. I've seen it being hooked along the streets of within the streets of Nairobi. Yeah. What is it?
Something like where's Laura?
There was a story I saw on the Star there, something that urologist said. I didn't get the gist of it, but there's a story about it. Yeah, but I do know. I've seen it being sold on the streets of Nairobi. Yeah,
it's some kind of an aphrodisiac.
Okay.
And Muhombero, we all know what Muhombero is. But then now, you're right, urologists say that there is no scientific evidence that the root treats erectile dysfunction. There is no scientific evidence that it treats. The key word is treats. Okay? Treats. So the erectile dysfunction, according to, is the inability to achieve or sustain an erection sufficient for sexual activity. But according to urologists, there is no scientific evidence. So I've seen a lot of
being sold. And speaking of erectile dysfunction, there was also a story that was saying, was it 1 in 10 men in Nairobi?
Yes. Is
suffering from ED, as it's called. So now with the proof that the science has not proved that it can deal with erectile dysfunction. I don't know how that changes the perspective of those who use it for those purposes. I don't know if that will change or it's a matter of belief, but science, I think, has spoken.
Science has spoken, and
Yes.
when it comes to scientific evidence, we have very little to talk about. Though, well, they say that it's being used for other purposes, but scientifically, it does not. There is now scientific evidence that it actually treats erectile dysfunction. I was talking about the story about but for the DP job, which could actually fracture ODM and UDA poll deal. What do you make of this? Because is it a case of eating their own? Because now there's that internal wrangle for Kindiki DP seat. What do you make of that?
I think from where I stand, two things. ODM, from my perspective, is dealing with identity crisis.
You're right.
Identity in this sense, they have mastered the art of opposition politics. Now, with the absence or the exit of the party leader, that is the late Raila Odinga, they have to find their position, because right now they are in broad-based government, but there's a faction that is not within the broad-based government. Then you look at the talks that were the pre-election talks. On one hand, they say they do not have a problem with the current deputy president, that is Kithure Kindiki. And on one hand, they are saying it's the deputy president's seat or nothing. So from my own understanding, it's like they are trying to navigate the politics of now being, quote unquote, being in power versus what they are used to. Politics of opposition. That is why you are seeing two factions within ODM versus ODM. So I think this is something that we are going to watch and see how it happens, but it's promising to be a very interesting time especially when it comes to how politics are being played within ODM and how ODM is relating with ODA insofar as the seat of the deputy president come 2027 is going. Yes.
Great. So it's the way you said, it's ODM versus ODM.
Yeah.
And of course, they have got high stakes when it comes to negotiating the position.
Yes.
A lot of questions are being raised, whether ODM should, if they unite and come back and form the strong and one ODM. The former late Prime Minister, that's Raila Odinga, once said that, who asked you that ODM will never have a presidential candidate?
Exactly.
But then now the question of having the slot of a deputy president is perhaps one of the reasons, again, why they're having the heat amongst themselves, what to go for and what not to go for. Some of them are still supporting the president's bid come 2027. That is CS Mbadi. We also have former Gunja MP, who is now the CS, or Pio Wandai, CS for Energy, saying that he's not going to run for another seat in Siaya County, but he's going to support President William Ruto's re-election in 2027.
Yeah.
So a lot of movement is expected to happen between now and perhaps August?
Yeah.
August, because once we hit the month of August into September, then it is now full throttle.
It's all systems go.
It's all systems go. It's now going to be turbocharged when it comes to politics, and it's super power that is going to be there.
And also, you look at ODM, it's the largest party we have in the country, and the most popular. You cannot ignore the expectation of members, and especially at the grassroots level. So there's the expectation that ODM is supposed to field a presidential candidate. And on the other hand, there are those who expect ODM to remain within the broad-based government. So it's a tough balancing act for ODM. You look at it from that perspective, it's a tough balancing act for them to meet the expectations of the members, and also in deciding the direction that the party is going to take, given the high stake, the high octane politics that we are used to in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you see, it's not even about coming to that and squaring the issue of the deputy president position. For President William Ruto, the immediate challenge may not actually be on how to solve the position of the deputy president. It's actually to solve the issue of the enemy within.
Yes.
Okay? And who is this enemy within when it comes to politics? With the 2027 election fast approaching, and for the politicians, there is no time left.
Yes.
It is going to be quite, to solve the issue of the Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West. That is according to me. The enemy within. How is he going to bridge the gap between the two sides, East and West? And that is going to be the biggest hurdle for President William Ruto. Perhaps, if you ask me, what he should be going for, and his think tanks, and how to to bring the two sides together. We all know former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua came from the other side of the mountain, and now when he was impeached, the position went to the other side of the mountain. So how is he going to bring the two sides together? Because one side will feel disenfranchised or shortchanged, politically speaking.
Yeah.
And now we also have former DP also turbocharging the mountain and saying that it's locked. It's going to be an interesting move.
It's going to be a very interesting time on the mountain because, well, the East and West narrative, if you look at the people who are really talking about the East and the West narrative, mostly it's CS for Public Service, that is Ruku, Honorable Ruku. But the narrative of East and West, I don't think it has, from where I stand, I don't think it has taken root, but it is going to be a very tough balancing act, especially for the sitting deputy president, to ensure that he comes out as a unifying factor within the mountain if they are to get or amass a good amount of votes from the mountain. On the other hand, the former deputy president has to ensure that the East and West narrative doesn't work out, because he also has to play a part in ensuring that both sides feel they are speaking from one point. So it's going to be a tough one, and as you have put it, that is something that the president also, given the politically speaking, he has to navigate, especially within the mountain region. And the politics of the mountain right now, you cannot really say there's that really narrative of East and West from where I stand, but it is there. Those undertones are there. Yes.
Okay, so politically speaking, you know, it's going to be a very interesting move, because you see the two sides actually taking their hardline stands.
Yes.
Mount Kenya taking the hardline stance that, you know, this is our position. And ODM also recently has come out quite assertive when it's come to the position of the deputy president, and also forming a pre-election pact with the UDA side.
Yes.
So this is it. The two sides, that is you know, led by Rigathi Gachagua being so strong, and also ODM also being so strong. The gentleman in the middle is President William Ruto and the UDA party. Why am I saying so? It's going to be the other side of ODM looking to have more of a constitutionally insulated positions. Okay? What I mean is, when you have a constitutionally insulated position, is that position of the deputy president or the president, as opposed to other positions which have, you know, the powers still lies with the appointing authority. If you're a cabinet secretary, you serve at the behest of the president.
Yes.
All right? You can get fired, you know, the president has the prerogative to fire and hire at whim. So ODM has that mindset that, you know, we are the biggest party in Kenya. So if you're going for a position, we must go for a strongly constitutionally insulated position. And that is why it's either position of the deputy president or the position of the president, of which the president said that he's also going to be looking for a re-election in 2027. No doubt about that. So it's going to be a tough battle when it comes to selecting who is going to be the running mate, of course, come 2027, when it comes to that. In interesting times ahead, all right?
Yes.
Let's come back to the issue of the governors. They say that they need 534 billion shillings or bust.
Yeah.
All right? Governors draw line in revenue battle. I talked about that in the last paper. This sets the stage for a fresh standoff with the National Treasury over revenue division. The Council of Governors is actually demanding 534.4 billion shillings as the equitable share for counties in the 2026-2027 budget. This sets the stage for another fresh standoff.
Yeah, that is
and backdoor consultations, Mike.
That is going to be quite, and I think it's going to be quite a spectacle, because this has always, we've seen this happen even last year, when governors demand a bigger share of allocation to help them in moving projects within their own counties. So, and here they are saying Council of Governors is proposing that counties be allocated 534.96 billion as equitable share, while the Commission on Revenue Allocation recommends they get 458. The National Treasury proposes an allocation of 420. So you see, there's a disparity with the proposals of the monies that they want to get. Treasury is saying talking about 420. CRA is talking about 458, but on the other hand, governors want 534. So this, how they reach to a consensus, is what now remains to be seen, how they are going to go about it. That is something that I think we shall be following up and informing you accordingly as it unfolds. Yeah.
There's a story here as we finish. There's a man who killed Cain in 2013.
Yes.
Do you know The amount why the gentleman shot his nephew with an arrow?
Unfortunately, yeah.
So, tunasema kwa Biblia, Jesus it was about how much was that in the Bible?
Jesus was sold for 30.
In this case, it was 30 bob. In this case, it was 10 shillings.
Yeah.
So he shot his nephew in 2013 with an arrow because of 10 shillings. Just 10 shillings.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's a case of emotional outburst or, but you see, hey.
Temporary insanity.
Yeah. 10 shillings.
10 shillings.
10 shillings.
And you know, that just points how a few seconds of a decision can impact someone's life, can change someone's life, whether in the good or in the bad. And in this case, within 10 shillings cost a life.
Yeah.
And someone
that
has
guy
to
was
deal with
given-
the consequences.
Was given a life sentence in prison, but the prosecutor said that it was quite disproportionate. So he was given a 30-year jail sentence because of 10 shillings. Hey, control your emotions, control your anger.
Yeah.
Sawa sawa. Mike, tumalize maneno.
Yes.
Tumalize na power. Because Arsenal is still at the top of the table, it is we are still feeling so powerful. Huko juu.
Ati ulisema huko juu, it's very cold.
It's very
lonely.
So lonely.
Wow.
At the top of the table.
I wish Ray was here to respond because...
No, Ray decamped. Aliona, she could not hold that pressure. Okay? So, but then she decamped from Manchester United.
She decamped?
Completely.
Okay,
now
that's...
she's a Gor Mahia supporter. Ardent Gor Mahia. From Manu to Gor Mahia. Hey, Ray
did she really decamp or she has taken a sabbatical?
Kuelewa Regina ni ngumu. That was a veiled move. Okay. So it's high time for us to say adios.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I have got apology. I have to put it clearly. I have got apology from my guests. They've never snapped the show. Daniel Kanchori sent a message that he got stuck. It's been raining, and the other side of Kajiado, he could not make it because of the terrain. I think he said that he wants to be the senator of Kajiado.
Yes.
There you have it. So you have a job cut out for you.
Yes.
All right. Wakili, apology accepted, as well as Kevin Osido, who's also got an emergency to attend, family emergency. This happens. That's what we call occupational hazard. It happens.
Yeah.
Apology accepted. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Victor Lowe. Power to the people.
My name is Mike Megwe. Get ready for another interesting conversation that is coming to you in just a bit about transitioning to an inclusive green energy, and also talk about matters of climate financing. Stay with us.
Happened? Sunshine just came in there and yelled at me. Did you tick him off again?
Enough, New Light.
Why aren't you sleeping?
I'm busy, studying. Can't let Dot sit down. And I want to show Sunshine how wrong he is. Jingdian's class is a personal matter. We'll cover all his night shifts. That follows protocol.
I don't care who comes to work. I just care about the guests.
Can't gamble with love. When it comes to star-crossed lovers, it never ends well.
Spring Festival, with its origins in the last days of winter thousands of years ago, when every family lit a welcoming fire. Today, that welcome is brought to the stage of the CMG Spring Festival Gala. This is where it gets cool. When the future meets timeless Eastern aesthetics. This is where we feel the warmth. When every voice has a story to tell, and every voice is heard. And this is where the celebrations heat up. When the excitement blazes across mountains and seas. In China, around the world, wherever you are, when the CMG Spring Festival Gala begins, you are coming home.
Jinsi ambavyo binadamu anahitaji lishe bora kwa ajili ya kukua vizuri, basi ndio hivyo kwa mifugo wako. Wanahitaji chakula bora, sio tu chakula. Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tunaangazia Junkao, lishe kwa ng'ombe wako.
Hii nyasi inakuliwa na wanyama wote. Sungura, nguruwe, ng'ombe, mbuzi, kondoo, hata pia kuku. Protein yake iko between 16 and 18%. Ni kama kulisha na dairy milk. Kila siku.
Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Many thanks for staying with us right here on KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Megwe. Now we get into a first conversation of the day, and that is about transition to an inclusive green energy and a climate financing. You know, you look at Kenya and its story, especially when it comes to energy, is changing fast. We have electricity access largely driven by renewable energy and even off-grid solar power expansions. But then again, you look at matters of inclusion when it comes to green energy. There's a major gap. When you look at gender inclusion, especially for women, there's still something that needs to be done, given that we have to get everyone on board to ensure that we achieve an inclusive green energy. And now for that conversation in studio, I'm joined by Peter Othengo, who is the head of climate financing and green economy at the National Treasury of Kenya. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing this morning?
Super.
Yes.
Yes.
Kumenyesha.
Because we worked for it.
Yes. Now, when we talk about an inclusive green energy transition, what defines that when you look at it from practical terms? Because as I have said, women, when it comes to gender inclusion, women hold less than a third of roles in renewable energy and climate financing. There are still struggles there. What defines an inclusive green energy in practical terms?
Thank you very much, Muge. When we talk about energy, energy is a very critical component for economic development. But at the same time, when you talk about green energy, it means that it is that energy that is being generated in an environmentally friendly manner, yes, that does not impact negatively the ecosystems, human being, and parts of the economy. When we talk of inclusivity, inclusivity is a term which also infringes on fairness, where no one is left behind, but no one is also pulling others behind. When you bring in the gender dimensions and the gender perspective in terms of the green energy transition, meaning that we are transiting from the fossil fuel, yes, to a new clean energy sources, which is supposed to empower and improve the health of both the women and our economy. It simply means that when we are transiting, we have to select the power sources, the energy sources, the energy types, which can reach all at the same time. That no one, no kitchen, no household, no field should be left behind. So in Kenya, for example, when you look the way we have been transiting slowly from the formal fossil fuel energy sources, thermal power stations, our hydropower, etc. Solar has become one of the key elements where women, youth, and even old men have got a share in it, because a solar panel can be connected, can be installed, and can also be provided anywhere in the county. So this is where we mean that we are transiting together, where no part of the country, no person is left behind. And finally, when we talk about energy, it's not about gender. It is about input. It is about technology. We have very well-educated women. We have very well-educated youth. So in this transition, all of them are included, all of them are provided, and the central power systems is always over into this country. That is what we mean inclusivity. But we are not yet there. We have to continue making sure that everybody is included.
Indeed. When you look at the social economic potential of it, of this transition, why do you think an innovation aspect of it matter to drive this inclusion forward?
The key word you've just said, it is innovation. But innovation must be accompanied by what we call paradigm shifting, business unusual. When you look at the traditional power distribution system using the national grid, that one is not inclusive. When you look at decentralized systems, where we have solar, particularly both modules, and also the solar thermals and the solar system, that one can reach anywhere, that one can reach any part of the country, because Kenya being in the tropics, we receive solar radiation for more than 8 hours. Even now we are receiving solar radiation. But for a layman, when you see clouds, you think that we are not receiving anything. So it is at that moment that we are really blessed with the location where we are, and within the decentralized and within the solar modules, which are, because the innovations has now been in solar, because when we started introducing solar here in the late 2010, in the 90s, the technology which was being used to develop the solar panel and the solar cell was still not one of the best at that time. But today, because of innovation, now with power decentral power system through the solar, wind, it is including geothermal, is now at par with the normal traditional power system. So it means that innovation has reduced the cost of power, both distribution and also availability in real time, far faster than we developed fossil fuel in the 14th century during the civilization. Yes.
You know, we still on that innovation aspect, you know, we have technological advancements like the distributed renewable energy, that is DRE, battery energy storage systems, and even now we are living in the age of the AI. When you look at the financing models, how can they support the adoption of this so that solutions can be achieved, and, you know, especially when you look at underserved communities?
Great. When you look at the financing model, and when we come up, you earlier mentioned that I had climate finance and green economy. Climate finance can simply be defined as resources, money that is required over and above the traditional conventional money you have. What does that one mean? It means that if an innovative technology is available and it cannot be accessed by the poor people in far-flung areas where my grandmothers are, then definitely this climate finance comes in to de-risk that investment. This is because technologies are very expensive to acquire. The developers of technology has got patents, and they have very strict financial models and analysis, and they always want return in investment.
Yes.
Most of these technologies are developed in America and European whatever. So for us to access it, that is how the government comes up with alternative financing model. Which ones are these? One, they are what we call blended finance. A blended finance is a finance that is sourced from either public, private, and philanthropic, international and domestic. So in this case, for example, I hope you are a Kenyan of a Kenyan origin. You come from a ward. There is this program called Financing Locally Led Climate Action, FLOCA.
FLOCA, yes.
That kind of a program is the one which now mobilizing resources globally, brings it nationally, and decentralize it to the local level. And now it now gives the power for the local people now, both decision and money, to decide where do you want to put this. And then after that resources, which is grant in nature at the local level, physical transfer, then now they can say, well, it is very costly outside, but because of this blended finance and because of the government intervention and because of the de-risking of the expensive technology, now they can acquire clean technology at a lower cost. For example, you have been hearing about clean cook stoves.
Yes.
You have been hearing about Jikokoa,
yes.
Jikopower,
yes.
Jikomoto, all those. With those ones, without incentives to incentivize the investors within the clean energy space, my grandmother will not afford that. If you look at in the past 10 years, there was this technology called M-Copper. All those M-Coppers had been incentivized by other financial alternatives that, for example, carbon credits. You have been hearing about, people are talking about carbon credit. Those are the financial mechanisms that have been developed within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to provide alternative resources to enable the poor societies, to enable inclusivity so that you can access them. The question is about access, availability, and how to sustain it. Yes.
What would you say has been the impact of initiatives like FLOCA insofar as adopting green energy is concerned?
The FLOCA initiative, which is 4 years now,
yes.
If you look at, first of all, the developmental objective of FLOCA is to strengthen both the national and county institutional capacity to build their resilience.
Yes.
Resilience to respond to the impact of climate change. Now, what causes climate change? Climate change is caused by emission of excess greenhouse gases in the near atmosphere. Now, where does this one come from? Most of it comes from the energy sources, burning of fossil fuel, where you get carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But with the FLOCA resources, which is being decentralized at the world level, where the local communities themselves are allocated an average of $1.25 million per year to enable them select what type of projects you want. And one of them, water, restoration of environment, climate smart agriculture, early warning systems, like what you hear KMC is warning you, it will rain, and then also renewable energy, the one we are talking about now, including research and innovation, and also the emerging issues. So the money is there at that local level, and to enable them select. And when you see what their people, and particularly the women and my grandmother, is clean solar, clean cook stove, and that means that it has enabled the penetration, the adoption, and the expansion of clean energy to the household level. Without FLOCA, therefore, it would have not been possible for this decentralized clean power system to reach rural areas, for example, deep in Masongeleni, for example, in Abasweni in Wajir, in Garbatola, yes, in Marsabit,
yes.
Uku Garbasel, next to the border.
Yeah.
We are there, and it is covering all 1,450 wards. No one is left behind, no county is left out, no ward is left out, and now it is now decentralizing to 106,700 villages. So it means Floka now takes what the people want at the household. That is penetration.
Yes.
That is access. That is inclusion.
And that is
fairness.
Yeah, and that is how even communities get to be involved in matters that touch on the environment. Now, how can the private sector now, investment, coupled with innovative solutions, be looped in to this transition that we are talking about, to help even in mitigating financing gaps?
Critically, the role of government is to create an enabling environment to enable the private sector invest. Whatever we have been doing as the government is to follow that, create an enabling environment, because the government does not have enough resources to invest everywhere at any time. The government's responsibility is to provide services, but the role of the private sector is to provide products. Solar, clean technologies, is a product. So by having proactive, modern policies and legislative framework, which is conducive to the private sector to enable them invest in us and in the village, it's one way of bringing in the private sector to support the government. As we are talking here, Kenya, as a country within the climate change landscape, is the first ever country that had enacted the Climate Change Act in 2016.
Yeah.
Climate change, the National Climate Finance Policy, and just recently, in 2024, the National Treasury, through the Cabinet, approved the Green Physical Incentive Policy. The basis of this Green Physical Incentive Policy is to provide incentives to the private sector to come and invest in areas such as clean energy. This is now to support the government, because the government has already availed mega little resources to show the private sector, yes, investing in green energy or transiting to green energy makes business sense. Now come and invest, and we will protect your investment. We will give you an enabling environment for a long time to invest in that. And we are doing it. If you look at the statistics today, Kenya is leading in the investment through geothermal. In fact, we are in top 10 of the investors on geothermal. Geothermal is a clean energy. Kenya is the leader in the continent on solar penetration we are discussing today. Kenya is leading on establishment and installation of our wind power, the Lake Turkana wind power. All these have been embedded with the proactive, modern, private sector friendly policies. But all over and above, we have a very good working relationship. We have Interministerial Technical Committee, which is overseeing the transition of climate finance, including the private sector, sitting with us on the same table. That is where the support for CAM, the support for KEPSA has been part of that. But when we move towards how do we support the private sector to access climate finance, I'm extremely happy that Kenya Commercial Bank, our green bank here, has been accredited by the Green Climate Fund. And next month, they are going to access over $50 million to provide to the medium and small enterprises to invest in green investment. That is part of the inclusivity. That is, it will be supporting women, youth, and myself, and my grandmother. And that money, I wish you people can join us to sign it. So these are showing that the government is working with the private sector hand in hand. Over and again, you know, our president is always having round table discussions, either quarterly with the KEPSA association of the private sector. They're doing well. They are supporting the country, but we have to do more.
Do you think the access to what you've said, the 50 million, will accelerate the transition that we are talking about to green energy and the inclusion that we are looking for?
Correct. You know, if you add a milliliter or a liter of water in a bottle or in a drum, definitely the level have to rise. It means that any additionality in climate finance, we talk of additionality over and above. Yes, it will accelerate the transition to green energy and green economy. How? $50 million with another $500 million guarantee to the private sector will definitely provide a conducive atmosphere to enable the private sector in this emerging market to come and tap that money. It means that more youth projects, more women projects, more villages, more counties, more wards will be able to access this. It is almost a 15-year program. So yes, it will accelerate. And at the same time, it now provides de-risking facility to enable the private sector to go as far as Mandera, Marsabit, Turkana, to build on what projects that FLOCA has already invested. Because the FLOCA investment is to demonstrate to the private sector of the world that investing in adaptation to climate change means business. There is a bottom line in investing in water, clean energy, climate smart agriculture, climate information systems which we provide. Today, we have local level information systems where the farmers are informed of the weather conditions at the same time. These are what is now required to enable the private sector to come with us. And secondly, I think you've known that there is a lot of stability within the public-private partnership.
Yes.
We have a law. We have a whole directorate where the public-private partnerships always come and discuss on how they can invest. But of course, we still need to do more.
When you look at this transition and the pace at which we are taking it, what do you say would be the biggest barriers to achieving a smooth transition or full realization of this green energy inclusion?
Well, when you look at the pace and the scope, the technology advancements is going on globally, and when you look back at the continent, and then when you now zero in Kenya as a country, you find that there are several barriers. There are policy barriers. There is access to cheap and affordable finance to enable the transition take place faster. There are also barriers in skills. When you now see the AI coming in, AI is a big data, artificial big data system. But in countries like Kenya, we do not have statistics of big verifiable data. It means that the AI which we will always use to design or to get things done is based on data which had been acquired from other sources. Data which is acquired from other countries, for example, in the north, may not be conducive for our design. And of course, you know, with the challenges of disparities and a moving target, where we have educational system which may not be able to equip the younger engineers, technologies with relevant skill, they may rush to AI to write for them algorithms within the computer using wrong data. And if that is the case, then what will we lose? Our investment will not be resilient. The designs will be poor and the transition may stall. So what we need to do, we need to be having what the global horoscope. We need to be having a very strong institutional framework, monitoring on real time, the advancements on the other side, just like what China and Korea did in the 60s after the Second World War. They invested heavily on how to learn on what is going on globally, on how to acquire those technologies from the West, but spend more on how they domesticate those technologies. That is why Japan is where it is after the destruction. That is where South Korea is seriously where they are after all the war of the Korean Peninsula. That is where the Singaporeans are, where they were, and they could be doing their own. That is where the thieves that were removed from the UK to be taken to Australia. Australia now have overtaken UK in terms of technology. We need to copy those ones. But Kenya, we are in a better state because we have a very young population. We have a very good political, strong, robust political system. We have policies, we have strategies, we have the sources of critical minerals, because renewable energy requires raw material. If we can use our critical mineral effectively and faster and not be manipulated by the global system, then our transition will be fast, better, because we have already have a conducive atmosphere to invest. The risk which the investors keep on saying, oh, there is all this risk, we are de-risking them, and the resources can be attracted the way we have attracted in climate change. Yes.
Indeed. Gender inclusion is very important in all this. And when you look at, I was looking at something that is the Global Energy Alliance, representation of women in the renewable energy sector falls or stands at 32%. Coming back to Kenya, that representation falls now under 30%. And when you look at even in leadership positions, there are fewer, and even at the expertise level, expertise position, meaning there is a lot of potential in that, especially when it comes to gender inclusion. How can we tap on this potential? And number two, how do we bridge the gap between that gender divide?
Great. You know, what happens, number one, the notion that gender, that women are gender, is not the right notion. Gender in its meaning, in its true meaning, according to Oxford Dictionary, is you and the women. So when we are together in gender, M and F, M and F, it is only, there is a very slight difference within the DNA system, the X and Y. Now, Kenya has done a lot to bring this one into ensuring that the divide between X and Y is minimum. We have a gender commission, effective gender commission that is established under the Constitution to ensure that there is no gap or there is no disparity between women and men. We have our educational system, which is universal in its systems, which does not discriminate about women and men. But the challenges that follows those systems is the way, the cultural aspect, where our girls can be engaged in other activities which deny them a chance to pursue some kind of topical or studies which will make them with that. But all in all, we need to bring gender at the par. Women are more careful, they are more resourceful, they are more sustainable than me and you. And that is why, for me, my grandmother is the greatest person, because she oversees us. If we take the clean energy system and give our grandmother, the oldest in your village, skills, not technical skills, just to show her how the clean energy transition will reduce her indoor air pollution, improve her health, because air pollution reduces the longevity of old people and children, that the renewable, she has the power, she has more skills to do it because they have been doing it. We will be able to get this. And of course, we have women-based now funds. We have established women-only funds. In our FLOCA program, for you to access our program, number one, Ward Planning Committee, at least 30% of the members of the Ward Planning Committee must be women.
30%.
30%. So now we are meeting 1/3. 30% of the same Ward Planning Committee must be youth or young people. So now we have 60%. Now we have left you and I and others 40%. Now in those committees, it is skills, understanding, and when there is stalemate, they vote. Now if 60%, if women are 30%, they influence youth, another 30%, they are 6. See, they have won. Because there is democratic process. The money is already there. It is earmarked, and then it is them to plan. Where do you want to take it? And within having at least, you mean they can even be 100%. So if we encourage them, if we create an awareness through the system, then definitely money and decision by the women, definitely we will narrow the gap. And it is there because trust, believe that women have taken the front line and have delivered significant resources within families. That is the point where we need. But it has to be from the decision, not just sitting on the table, not just shouting on the streets. They have to come to the table, contribute, influence policies, undertake the action themselves because resources are available. If we follow that path, definitely the gap and the gender divide will not be there.
Yeah, actually, I was coming to ask you about how women leadership, especially when it comes to energy planning, policy formulation and implementation, would transform outcomes and help in achieving this transition.
That is why under FLOCA framework, the landscape, that is why generally women have to be at least 30%. And there are silent features that require them to be handling the money resources. The treasurer must be a woman.
Must be, like it's
dedicated.
It's a rule.
It's a rule. It's a policy. If not women, it is suspended until they get somebody. Because they are very meticulous. They are very careful. Women look for the future, current and future. They take care of our children. They take care of our youth. They also take care of us. They also maintain the houses. That is where the resources should be. And that is why whenever you look at the policy, even the green fiscal incentive policy, there are 23 key elements of the incentives. One of the elements is giving women leadership, whether they know it or not. Because the idea of thinking that, oh, an engineer must be a man, yet at the same time there is no man who, there are very many men engineers, but they have never even designed a needle. Why can't we try women? We may have our own needle. That is the theory and the theory of change that we are bringing here, that these people, the silent warriors, have a point, and let's try them.
Yes.
Let's try them. And now, we don't just try them. We want to get them out of women groups.
When you look at even at FLOCA and the accessibility of climate financing for groups, are there ways that this money is followed up to ascertain that the purpose that the money was given is the only thing that the money was used for?
We have a comprehensive framework, monitoring and evaluation, 5 levels, where we start with our well-educated team of scientists with what we call, first of all, FLOCA is a program for results. FLOCA is not walk in, write a proposal for a women group and get 20. No. No, it is P for R.
Yes.
Project for result. You deliver the result, then we give you water. First of all, when we were designing FLOCA, we visited the entire 47 counties. We ascertained baseline, the weaknesses. Capacity was a weakness. So we had to design the program with the 2 grants. The first grant is the grant which we call County Climate Institutional Support Grant. That is for investing in institutions. What is the paradigm shift here and the theory of change here? Generally, conventionally, people come with a TA, technical assistant. Technical assistant is one person like you and me, sitting in an office or with a briefcase, purporting to be providing technical assistance in this studio. That one, wrong. So we said we don't need TA, we need institutional support. So each county was allocated 11 million per year for 3 years to build county institutions up to the world level, county climate change units. Then that one was now to build the institutions capacity of these guys. Then there is now the second investment grant, not projects. Now, county climate resilient investment grant. Resilient means that institutions will be invest in infrastructure that are resilient, which will withstand economic stability, climate change variabilities, the impact of that. Now, that grant, after you establish all those systems, then now you are assessed that have you achieved what we gave you. Then now you come in. We have what we call access conditions. The access conditions are very simple. You have to have laws, you have to have the Climate Change Act. A county has to have climate change fund, which is called special purpose account, where the money which you dedicated to move has to be moved to that account. Then you have to dedicate an officer, CEC in charge of climate change, to be superseding, to be responsible for that. They have to sign an agreement with us, which is, so based on those elements, then we will, a second party from the Office of the Auditor General will come to assess, how have you achieved this, check the box. A, there is no A and B.
Yes.
It is A, you take the box. Then you move to performance conditions. Have you performed? Have you allocated 1.5% of your development budget to this account? Yes or no? If you have not, you fail. If you have, then we take you to the next one. By the way, so it is so innovative that up to now we are sitting, the counties have contributed 8 billion, equivalent of Kenya shillings, over the last 3 years to contribute to climate change and investment. Their own contribution, very significant. From that, the first year alone, last year but one, we gave them 12.68 from World Bank, IDA, KFW, and the 12.68 billion, significant amount of money. This year, last week, they have almost accessed almost 7.2 billion. Now, this money is going directly into the local projects. And the local projects are selected by the local people. 2,450. The M&E are following those delivery-linked indicators. Today, as I'm talking here, my teams are all over this county. Follow the money. Get the thieves. Yes.
All right. Now, how do we transition from traditional financing models to ensure that we remove the barriers, we increase the absorption capacity, and also create predictable and policy-driven investment frameworks so that we can achieve a 100% transition into inclusive energy?
One, there are significant innovations and also policy directives that are already existing. Absorption has been addressed or being addressed under the Public Finance Management Act. You are supposed to absorb up to 80% for you to, if you are a government institution, to enable you to access the other one. But for you to absorb, it means that it's not just about spending. It has to be, the resources have to be spent prudently. You have to follow the procedure. It has to be efficient. It has to be effective. It has to be spent on what was planned for, not spending free. So that has increased over the last 5 years or so. But for us to ensure that there is a faster transition to a green energy, those policies and those access to financial resources is very critical. Today, for example, you know, we have a policy on e-mobility transition.
Yes.
Done and moving. Today, you know, we have electric buses. roaming into ours, into the roads now. They are very good guys. Buses go with softwares. Now you can select. Today we have electric motorcycles, something which you could not even hear 10, 15 years ago. So today, as I said, solar, we are the largest. The Kenya is one of the counties with the highest solar penetration in the town. All our roofs, most of the roofs are always equipped with the solar. But the problem which used to be there earlier, there was a mismatch between solar and the battery. You know, energy can be generated, but you cannot destroy energy. But because in the past, you could not store energy.
Yes.
But now the battery storage has come in. And now the technology is very advanced. So it means now anybody can now generate energy from solar and sell to their neighbors. Policy has been changed. Very good. But anybody now needs to pick up and invest on that. We now have green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is a fantastic technology which is required to replace these fossil fuels where you have to go and drill oil or to be able to power your economic development. But when we are in climate change, the key thing here is emission of greenhouse gases, both from energy and from agricultural and landscape and lands. Now, fossil fuel can be used for others. You know, fossil fuel, this oil is the one being used for manufacturing of fertilizer.
Yeah.
The bad thing for it is to burn it, to emit it. So we have all means and goodwill to ensure the transition is fast and moving to the target where we need 90% by 2032.
Indeed.
Our NDC is very clear about that, National Determined Contribution. Our climate change action plan is well defined. Our green physical incentive policy. And finally, we are in the process of organizing the first ever Africa Green Investment Forum here in Nairobi.
Yes.
The first one.
The first one.
And we are intending to mobilize 50 billion. So that 50 billion will be to fast track this transition.
When is it projected to happen?
It was projected to happen in April, but it could move. There are a lot of a lot of preparations going on.
Yes.
It will happen here. We will mobilize that money from our development partners, and we will now fast track this transition by 2032.
Finally, this is your closing remark. If we are to sit here five years from now, what measurable shifts or outcomes should we look for and say confidently that Kenya has moved or has moved 100% beyond ambition? And if not, who should we hold accountable for that?
The person to be held accountable is you and me, because the transition is good for us. So if we don't deliver, it is you and me. And will you accept? I will accept. Two, in order to measure that by 2032, all the vehicles that are moving on our roads should be electrical, no emission. Good technology is there. All our energy powers, all the thermal power generation should be shut. All our forest cover should be more than 30%, because they are also contributing. All our energy consumption, both in-house and also industry, should be from clean sources.
Yes.
Yes. And all our thinking and green consumptions must be only, if you don't consume a green product, then we need to take you responsible.
Indeed.
In 2032.
Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup. Obrigado.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato gozaimasu. Sumimasen. Arigato gozaimasu. Doso.
Yes, indeed, that is Peter Othengo, who is the head of climate financing and green economy at the National Treasury. This is where this conversation ends. My name is Mike Migu. Thank you for tuning in. Don't go too far. Up next is Vivian Degwa with Women at the Forefront. Stay with us.
Mnaniletea vitu ni sign na vitu kama hii kama sasa hii imerudi. Who is going to stand for that? Nani atalipa hiyo? Mnafanya delaying tactics hapa, kama mtaki kufanya kazi mseme.
Panza kubeba makaratasi ukileta hapa. Watoto wako liwafundisha tabia mbaya tangu uko kwako.
Wafikiri tutaendelea kuishi hivi mpaka lini? Mimi siyawezi kabisa. Naona hapo tunafikia, tuachie hapo hapo. Hata kama ni kusulubika, fadhali nikasulubike kwangu mwenyewe.
Huja nikosea? Ndio. Wala huja mkosea Amini akusema acha wavunje nyumba yetu? Ndio. Ni ya nini huyu bibi yake wamfanya kama mtoto mdogo ndani yeye?
Mimi sijamfanya kama mtoto mdogo, nimemfanya nini?
Amini kuwa wewe wamsimanga bibi yake kwako hapa pamoja na watoto. Kama sijui ni kitu gani umekosa hapa ndani ya nyumba.
Wasikia uchungu sana akisimangiwa.
Sana.
When did you start to marry kids? When did you start to marry kids?
I don't marry kids. I marry mature women.
Who brought you that child, my daughter?
Who brought you that my daughter?
Hey, who brought you? Wewe ndio unakifanya vile unachua sana.
Sijifanyi.
Wewe ni pipi yangu.
Arda.
Ana polisi wewe ni pipi yangu.
Mimi siwezi kuwa bibi yako.
Very good. Kuna mtoto yako tulipeana.
Si ni wewe ulikula deposit ya mtoto.
Si wewe na hiyo mtomo yako ukiniambia tuoze huu mtoto tupate pesa.
Mimi saa ngapi?
Kawena.
Mwezi mimi wangu atarake muntoke ngakiringanga.
Wewe mzee, mko na watoto wangapi? Wewe na huyu bibi yako.
Mko na watoto nani?
Kenya is playing her part by hosting two exemplary and exceptional Olympians in Kenya who are using their legacy to actually empower girls through sports.
I believe education is powerful, and I think the more women can learn and empower themselves, that was my first really big milestone.
Education was priority, and then your athletic pursuits were going to have to come in second place.
The girls' capacity in this country is limitless. They can be absolute change makers. And I think believing in themselves, using the communities around them and lifting each other up.
If you're driven and you have a belief in yourself and you know or are curious about a direction, keep pushing, keep driving, because you will find the people who want to support that.
Want to enjoy free-to-air digital TV with crystal clear quality? Here's how to get started with Signet. Step 1. If you have a smart TV, you're good to go. Next, connect the aerial to your TV. Now, do an auto search on your TV. Just follow the prompts on the screen. And that's it. You're now tuned in to Signet. Sit back and enjoy a wide range of free-to-air digital channels. For technical inquiries, call the Signet hotline on 0770 572 656.
Najua hutaki huruma, lakini mimi ni babako, na nikikuona hivi nasikia uchungu sana.
Ametunyang'anya baba kisha walia haki.
Utatambua lini kwamba umefilisika?
Hebu ondoka ama mimi mwenyewe nije nikuondoe.
Bila msamaha sisi ni wanyama.
Lakini nani wa kumsamehe mwenzangu?
Nyote.
Sote? Mimi nimekosea wapi?
Nadhani umeanza kutoka na akili yako Hawa.
Usipomwambia aondoke nitakuzaba makofi.
Hawa. Nimechoka na upuzi wako.
Mimi nakupenda. Jehova Rafa, nikikuita nimepona.
We live in a generation where we love trends, we love vibes, we love following what is happening on social media, on TikTok. What is vibe? When you hear the word vibe, what do you really think about?
It's very much being in your comfort zone to me. It's a feeling that is enjoyable for you in the situation that you're in.
Yes, something can feel right, can feel fun. Hiyo Kenya umesema, and not be right. Yes.
Whenever you find yourself questioning a specific trend, I think that's your conscience telling you this is not right.
What happened? Sunshine just came in there and yelled at me. Did you tick him off again?
Enough, New Life.
Why aren't you sleeping?
Busy, studying. Can't let Dot sit down. And I want to show Sunshine how wrong he is.
Njingdian's class is a personal matter. We'll cover all his night shifts. That follows protocol.
I don't care who comes to work. I just care about the guests.
Can't gamble with love. When it comes to star-crossed lovers, it never ends well.
Women at the Forefront is the segment we are running with right now. And I love this particular segment because it is all about empowering the next generation of younger women. And today I am more than pleased to be having engineers in the house, and to be specific, female engineers in the house. And they will be talking about their triumphs and trials as female engineers in the country. Allow me to introduce them. On my far right, we have engineer Barbara A. Athoch, and she is a professional engineer and the CEO Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Vivian.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And then right next to engineer Barbara, we have engineer Faith Mutoko, who's also a professional engineer and is the manager, Registration and Licensing Services Engineers Board of Kenya. I love that you have titles, you know, being in this male-dominated field. I don't know if it's still as male-dominated. It is. Yes, it is. Being in this male-dominated field, but you hold such positions, you know, senior positions. I believe that for you to get to that point, you had to really, you know, work to get to that point. I want us to begin with just getting to understand how you got into this field. Was there a particular moment that made you want to get into engineering, or did it just happen? Did you do it for your parents? How did you get into that for someone who's watching and this is the field they are looking to get into? Let me begin with you, Barbara.
Okay, it's a good question. I know most of the time, most engineers will say that they are into science and mathematics, and that is true, because when you're thinking about the career, it's a very core. Those are very core subjects. For me, I would say that it was more of the during the period where we were supposed to choose our courses, because during that period. We didn't have much sensitization on what engineering was. So all we knew is if you're very smart, then you should be a doctor. Unfortunately, medicine is a very competitive field. So when I was not able to get into the medical field, then engineering was the AI of that time. We were just coming up into construction, was buzzing, and it was the very good. It was quite a good choice looking at it, and also looking at a broader picture. I love taking trajectories where you are able to make impact. So I would say for me, that was what drove me towards this field. And a couple of years later, I would say it was a good choice. Yes.
Nice. How did you get into it?
Thank you. My case was, you know, in high school, you're just thinking about you need to score A's and you don't know where you're taking them. Then I remember there was a time, my school, we used to have career programs where you would have I think it used to be universities, students, and sometimes the leadership, they would come to a school and talk about different career options. And I remember for me the moment was, there was one of the local universities, it's a public university, they came to talk about engineering. So basically talking about a lot of other courses, but the one that stood out was engineering, because the person who was actually talking about was a lady. So for me, I was like, I think that was the moment for me that I was like, because basically I was just looking, I really didn't consider myself going into medicine, because I needed something that's is a little bit introverted career. I don't know why that's a criteria. So I needed something that's you're a little bit quiet, but you still get to do something. So I think when she came, like, this a lady.
I feel that you wouldn't have to interact with people so much.
without really saying that, but that's this is something that is a bit quiet, but also interesting. So I think for me, that's what, and also the fact that the person talking about was actually a lady. It was the first time I actually saw a lady talking about it.
So for you, you didn't have any, you know, male, female engineers while growing up. You didn't have any female engineers around you that you got to look at.
Interesting. Looking at it, no, I didn't.
At all.
Yeah,
they're not as. For me, it was just that moment, and it was because the school organized it. But when you go back to the society, I don't think we have many of them actually.
And you know, just from what you said, just seeing her there sparked something in you.
Of course, it kind of clicked because I was looking for something. Before I used to know about some engineering program, especially the ones that are I've been there for a while, but then I needed something that is, because I know medicine, you have to always be interacting with and I was like, so I was in between. I need to pass my examinations, but then where do I take it? And then before I think there used to be such conversations. Not the first time they were talking about engineering, but just because it was being done by a lady, I was like, this is something I can actually go into.
And that representation is really, really important.
Of course, when the story is told by someone that looks familiar to you, it's very different from when you hear it from a man. Okay, with all due to respect to our brothers, but then it kind of clicks different.
I think just to add on what Engineer Faith is saying, that you see, you find it relatable when you see a woman who is there. Then you say that if she's able to go through this so-called male-dominated field, and she's able to scale the heights of past the courses. One of the things that we had when we got into first year was, you know, not many girls finish engineering, but if you're able to see someone who's finished the 5-year course and actually managed to set up a career, then it encourages you, because then you find it's more of a relatability instance.
Maybe just from what you said, why don't many ladies, you know, from your point of view, tend not to finish their 5-year courses in engineering? Maybe they switch to another career path. Is there a particular reason?
I'm not sure if I can speak for them,
Okay.
but I would say that it's one of those courses that you find, first of all, it's a lot of men in class. Then when you look at it, maybe women, we tend to look at more of social courses. So when you're in maybe an electrical class, you're seeing the practicality of the tools. And when you try and look at it on an impact basis, you may not see how it, because I would try to believe that it's not about the fact that the course is hard. Of course, the course is not very, it's not, I don't want to say hard, so that I don't discourage any person who's watching this. But I would believe that women have gotten to the position that they've proved that they can do it, that we are at the same par with the males who are also taking the course. Why perhaps they don't end up finishing the course, maybe due to individual reasons. But what has been noted so far was that during the 5 years, some women would drop out of the course.
Okay. So I think maybe just 2 Wednesdays back, I had a woman who's also in construction, in the construction business, on one of the seats right here. For her, she's into the business of selling timber. That's her line of work. And she mentioned that her being in that kind of field whereby it's quite male dominated actually worked in her favor. You know, instead of it coming with so many challenges, for her, she said it worked better because she would always stand out and therefore get more business. So would you say that it has worked the same for you, or has it been harder for you being in that kind of space where it's really male dominated?
I think the challenges are different at different levels, because you find one of the reasons the barrier starts is when you find the girl doesn't even know what is engineering, so she doesn't join. At that point, I don't think it works in her favor, because she's kind of completely left out of the chain. But then if she's able to get in and grow, there's a level where it's kind of, it's a little bit favorable, but then you really have to work to get there. So the challenge might not be that women are not standing out, but then the issue is not even at the top, because how you'll find she's already on the other side of it, she's gone through the process and she's already established. But the challenge is the support that women really need, especially in the engineering sector, is basically from the even primary school level or through high school, you bringing her through even to joining the market, because that is also one of the challenge from the data, maybe from the Engineers Board of Kenya. You notice that initially it used to be low, but it's still not high. The number of girls who are joining engineering programs, it used to be as low as even 10%, but now over the last 10 years, I think it's grown up to 25% on average.
Good progress.
But then you also find that is still, they make approximately 50% of the population. So when you're looking at it in terms of the actual representation, it's still a little bit low. So it tells you there are issues before she even gets all the way to being in the entrepreneur side of it. And then now maybe you also notice they also tend to prefer the schools that are within Nairobi. Interestingly, you find the public universities within Nairobi have a higher rate, like 30%. So that was really telling you something about locality. Then now when it comes to them joining the market, you also know there's a little bit of attrition there. So we can't really say it works in their favor. There's still a little work that needs to be done before you even go to the other side where you're standing out, because the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. But then there's that phase where you can call it the teething process, where a lot of effort needs to go, because I'm sure if she was to tell you, even joining the market might not have been easy, establishing herself in the market might not be easy. But then I think there's a point where you go over the other side of the curve and it gets easier. But then I think promoting that narrative might not be very general, especially to the girls who are coming into engineering.
Your point of view?
Just to build on what engineer is saying, when we were just getting into studio, there was a show that was going on, and I believe some of the pointers that were put out is that we have a gender commission. So I think looking at it also with the issues of this affirmative action, that has promoted the idea that women are now being enabled to stand out, because now you have to put some markers. Did you give 30% of your contracts to the minority groups where women fall? So perhaps that is what I would say is making her stand out. But as engineer says, still there's a lot of work to be done.
How can it be made more supportive for women?
I think we need more women mentors, if we can have more women, and that goes as far back as primary school, because also part of the programs we usually do, recently we've started going to high schools, and one of the things that stands out is, normally in Kenya, students tend to choose their courses around Form 2. That's where they tend to kind of choose into what they go up to KCSE. Then it was noted, beside some of the big schools, you find most of the local schools, they tend to encourage two science subjects. And what happens there is you find physics is the one that gets dropped. And sometimes it's not even about the ability. There's the ability to be able to do it, but there's also the attitude where someone will come into it thinking, me, I'm not good at physics. And they've already made up their mind. So it's not like, I'm not good, I'll try it. No, the attitude is, I'm not good, and that is it. So there's that issue, because now you find, by the time this kid will go through high school, knowing that I will do engineering, only for them to feel that they're like, physics was mandatory. So it's kind of, that window is kind of closing a little bit. And also the attitude towards mathematics, especially for the girl child. And it's not even about whether she can or she can't. A little bit is more about the attitude. It's like there's a little bit of, I don't know if it's imposter syndrome, where you feel like your intellectual abilities may not be that you feel like you may not have as much potential as you actually got. So that is also an issue. And then it's a little bit personalized because, no, it's like trying to convince this girl, you know what, you can do mathematics, you can do physics, and you don't have to drop it. It's not so hard. So there is that mentorship that needs to start that early. And also now coming into the market, so even joining university, so that chain will be able to at least help them go to the university. At the university level, I think you can also talk to them. You try to have a little bit of industry connections, so to them to know, I'm doing engineering and this is how it links. That can also be able to speak into what engineer was saying. You will be more motivated to finish and seek a job if you know, I can link my theory of structures to a natural job in the market, and this is what I'll be able to do when I get there. So there's also, when they join the market, also we need a little bit of more career opportunities, because also there's a little bit of attrition there. If they leave university, they have all these degrees, and they're not able to get a job, chances are they may go into another field, which sometimes is good or bad, depending on the person. Then now, once they join the market, you also need to work on leadership. Like, how do you grow beyond just the entry level to now the position where you're able to go into decision making? Because you'll notice the numbers because you have the lowest categories of graduate engineers, there we tend to find higher numbers of women and also the percentage. But as you go up the other categories of professional engineer, consulting engineer, and even the women who have engineering consulting firm, which is the entrepreneur side of it, you find the numbers tend to be going lower as you go. So it also tells you there is a little bit of need for mentorship around leadership, around being able to go into entrepreneurship, and the skills that now go along with that.
Yeah, what changes would you say you've seen over the years, specifically when it comes to, you know, women entering in the engineering space? Are there changes that are loud that you can point out?
Looking at it over the years, perhaps this issue of mentorship and also this issue, I would like to touch on the issue of imposter syndrome. Yes, please. Because I said that you're looking at your capacity in terms of intellect, and when you're young, or when you go to high school or even uni, you assume that these courses are not for you, these science courses are not for you. So you already have the mentality that that engineering or a STEM space is more for the male, and you as a woman, you're just there renting it temporarily. Of course, these are systemic issues that tend to stay with you, and if you grow up continuously with them, then it's very hard to remove them. So perhaps that's one of the things that I can say has since changed, because there's a lot of conversation that these courses are also for you. It's not that the socials are just for the women, and then also the sciences are for the men. So that's one of the changes that I've seen has worked. There's also more deliberate action that has been done to encourage women not only to take up these courses, but also now you have job adverts that females are encouraged to apply. You know, when you see that, then automatically as a woman, you would tend to apply, and courtesy of that, it's absorbing more women in the workforce. What I just wanted to build on is, yes, there's something that has been done, but what else can be done? We are talking about mentorship, but we need women up there who are then able to come back and mentor this. That means that we need to create spaces. Is it a work-life balance? But now we are calling it work-life integration, that are able to ensure these women stay in the workforce. Because when you get into the workforce and then you start seeing things that are coming out as gender biases, or the idea that you're excluded from certain events because you're a woman, automatically you would say, I have the capacity to handle this job, but since I'm not feeling my worth, then you tend to leave that job and then go to somewhere else, and then that is where the attrition is now starting to come in. But if you are able to keep these women in the workspace, which I've seen, there's more effort trying to ensure that they stay in the workspace, then we are able to have these mentors who then in turn come back and show the young girls that they can do this.
Yeah, and even speaking about that, maybe, are there policies or workplace practices that you would say, if this happens, if these policies are put in place, and even in matters of workplaces and the practices around the workplaces, if this and that are put in place, then we can be able to have women engineers thriving?
So I'll try and take a bit of that, and then I'll let engineer turn it. Yes, there are, because of course we have these core hours where we are working, but you understand as a woman, at the end of the day when you're working, still there are some household chores that still sort of fall back to you. Looking at things to do with childcare. So of course, yes, if you have an employer who recognizes that 8 to 5 is a your working period, but if you need to have some childcare time, you've been called for an emergency. You know, most of the mentality we also have is that when someone takes some sick off, then you don't like work so much, and you then get scared to be asking for time off. But if you are able to show women that they can be mothers, then they can also still work in the office. I think those are policies that would really enable them to stay. Something as simple as we are encouraged to do this exclusive breastfeeding, but we have pumping stations in the office that then they are able to ensure that they are able to continuously keep up with the exclusive breastfeeding for this period of time. I think those are also things that can be looked at. Looking at ideas to do with work hours. I think COVID also showed us that we don't really have to be stuck behind a desk in an office to ensure that we are able to meet our activities or objectives of KPIs. So are you able to allow her when she's, during that period when she still has a young baby, to still work, do her core duties, but still also able to attend to her motherly duties. Things like that, I think, would be able to keep the women in the field.
Well, would you weigh in on that?
Maybe I will not add much because she's covered it mostly in the. I think mostly it's just about the work-life balance and how do we enable the woman, but also for engineering programs, I think it gets a little bit interesting because, especially in the construction industry, the location of the job also kind of. A woman is likely to think twice if you give her you give her a job that is at a certain location, because they tend to, it's like a woman, you tend to think in terms not just for yourself, but you also find there's this family that you have to think about. So is there any policies around that that would help? Maybe to just assist them a little bit, and also and also the facility, the actual facilities. I don't think the problem will be going somewhere, but the issue is you're looking at the facilities available in that place that you're going. Practically, like, are you able to, like, can your kid go to school in that location that you're going? So if we can work around that, especially in the construction industry, and also because engineering is a little bit getting also global, that ability to be able to move from one place and transition and find it comfortably. But also I think what the engineer was mentioning is that you can, beside just getting the opportunity to have that work-life balance and be able to maybe get out when you need to attend to something else, there's also the bit where she gets to do that without feeling a little bit of guilt, because I think there's that where you feel like there's a pressure, a little bit of a pressure that you feel. It's never said.
Yeah, it's a silent one.
It's a silent. So there's a little bit of that is, I think, now maybe public awareness and trying to show society these are, you know, it's like the office and work is one aspect of life, but then we also have these other aspects of lives that kind of marry into that, and recognizing that life is wholesome, that would really assist, and also showing why this person needs this kind of assistance, not like special treatment and maybe getting away without doing much, but then maybe being able to achieve productivity in a different way, and also the attitude around that.
Okay, so the goal is to make it as inclusive as possible, to
exactly.
make the field as inclusive as possible. And you mentioned that right now we are at around 25%. 25% of women in the workforce when it comes to engineering.
25% is actually at the numbers. What I was saying, basically, I was saying, we look at the numbers. On average, we have around 15%. But then that 15%, I said we have the category of graduate engineers. It's the entry level. And you find there are women who get there and they stay there for like 10 years. While it's expected, you can transition from graduate engineer to professional engineer within 3 years. So what that is telling you, it's saying that this person is stagnated at a position. They are not moving up. So then now you'll also, that was like 10 years ago, but then you notice the figures have kind of changed. It has improved. Now that's the 25 is like when you evaluate the number of women who left college last year. But then when you look at it, the whole average figure, it tends to go down because historically the numbers have not been so high. But then I think now the issue is this percentage, if you take it as a percentage and we assume it's conclusive, then we are missing out on the aspect of where are they located in the workforce? Are you in a decision-making position, or you're part of the group, so you're not able even to influence? Because I think it makes a big difference where a woman is actually present when at the table, where the decision-making table. She will bring a perspective that maybe I don't think we got here because someone sat down and decided that we are going to leave out women. It's just maybe because the perspective was missed out because she was not at the table, and or even if she was at the table, there were not many women to have a voice that seems is not personalized. You know, if it's one person who is always telling the story, people will say, this is just maybe her personal goal. But if the other woman comes and she's from another walk of life, and then she's also trying to bring forward these issues, then it's like it looks a little bit more objective. The numbers matter, but I think progress has been made. My interesting thing, we still need a little bit of the leadership positions there.
Are you seeing it in the near future whereby we have maybe that 50-50%? Are you seeing it anywhere in the near future? Is it something that is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
Optimistically, I think it's very possible because we have really, in the last 10 years as a country, even not just within the engineering sector, I think there's a lot of progress that has been done, affirmative actions where you find girls are given opportunities. So if that is sustainable, I feel we can get there, because it's not a lack of ability. It's just maybe just a lack of opportunity to be able to get into the field and prove yourself.
Okay. I would also say I'm optimistic, but I hope that this will happen, because yes, I know we've belabored on this word affirmative action for a bit, but I think the only way we will get there is if they are deliberate. Very deliberate actions that would ensure we get there. If you look at it in the senior management in the engineering field, we're actually not very, we don't accommodate as many women as corporate leadership, and I think that's something we could consider that needs to change. So yes, we want to say, again, I'll go back to the 30%. So if 30% of your employees are women and they're all interns, then you're still not making a difference. Of course, we really need to bring them on board.
All right, so maybe what excites you most about the future of engineering generally, or if you want to put that woman side of it in there also, it's fine. But what is exciting you right now in that field?
Okay, so we do, as part of the Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya, we have the Future Leaders Wing, where we do a lot of mentorship. And when we do STEM in terms of outreach to the schools, and every time we go there, we see that there's now a big buzz around students who are in engineering schools, and they're very excited about the idea of engineering. I think if I compare it to the fact that, like I said, when I was in high school, this is something I didn't see. So I think it means that already we are making some progress. So for me, that is exciting. And I really hope I get to see these girls coming back to the field and being engineers and joining us probably,
Nice. What is exciting you in engineering?
I think nowadays, when you look at, especially the kids who are leaving college, there's a little bit of, I think maybe because we're living in the information era, where they are a little bit way more informed. So you find they're also moving a little bit away from the employment mentality to creating opportunities. And I think that is an exciting opportunity for me. I think we'll move away from the attitude where I have to leave and go get a job and everything. And I think because these are persons who are also doing innovation, and they've also been through the system, I'm hoping they'll be able to embrace the policies that are actually more supportive of women, and they're also way more open-minded. I'm not saying the previous generations we are not as open-minded, but you find them that they don't mind this thing about work-life balance. It's a little bit easier for them because I know guys who have left college and they just work from home. So the person is able, if they have kids, they are able to go pick the kid from. So I think the attitude there and the fact that they are willing to innovate, because when you innovate, you kind of can influence the rules of the game in a positive way. So I think that can be a good thing.
All right. And I just want to add something else, the idea of leadership. Because again at ASEC we had the first female president who was there for the past 2 years. If you look at our membership, currently we have only 4 female consulting engineers as part of our membership. And if you look at a membership of 121, and then we were able to have that one as a female president. So I think these are very positive areas to look forward to.
All right. As we finalize on the conversation, maybe what would be your parting shot specifically to a young woman watching, and this is the field they would love to pursue? Maybe they're in the university already pursuing it. What would be your parting shot to them? I know you can start.
Okay, thank you. I think I would encourage the girls. Actually, it's doable. And it's not, I would also encourage them to embrace the attitude towards mathematics and physics. It's not about, you don't need to go in knowing it. It's basically a learned skills. No one goes to school knowing it. And I also encourage them that the future is bright. The opportunities are there for girls. There's so much being done locally, and also there's also we covered this, we are kind of embracing the global perspective. So you can work from anywhere, and you can also be able, I think basically the opportunities are there in engineering.
Thank you. Engineer Barbara?
For mine, I would say that get your mentors and get them early, and then it takes a village. Don't forget that. So don't think that all this is on your shoulder. It really does, and the village is a support system from home. It can be a support system also from work. Look for people who've been there, who've done it, because then they'll show you that it can be done.
All right.
Yes.
It was a pleasure hosting you on this show. Thank you for just sharing your the information you have concerning engineering, and I'm sure that you've been able to encourage a young woman out there who's looking to get into this field. So that is all the time we had today for Good Morning Kenya. My guests today were Engineer Barbara Adoch, who's CEO, Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. We also had Engineer Faith Mutuko, who is the Manager, Registration and Licensing Services Engineers Board of Kenya, and both of them are professional engineers. So for a young lady who's watching us and that's the field you're looking to get into, it can be done. This is where we end it. My name is Vivian Degwa. Thank you for watching.
Happened? Sunshine just came in there and yelled at me. Did you tick him off again?
Enough, New Light.
Why aren't you sleeping?
I'm busy, studying. Can't let Dot sit down. And I want to show Sunshine how wrong he is.
Injing Dian's class is a personal matter. We'll cover all his night shifts. That follows protocol.
I don't care who comes to work. I just care about the guests.
Can't gamble with love. When it comes to star-crossed lovers, it never ends well.
The wrath of Mother Nature. 10 counties are on the brink, with over 10 million people in need of food aid. Livestock is dying, and children are being driven out of schools as drought batters the nation. We go beyond the headlines with reporters on the ground in Turkana, Wajir, Tana River, and Kitui counties for an in-depth look at the evolving humanitarian, economic, and environmental impact on communities across the country. Tune in to KBC Channel 1 on Thursday the 19th February for a comprehensive news coverage on the drought situation in the country.
Welcome back to Semana Spokes from Nagava.
Semana Spokes is the platform where Wananchi engage, query the government, and the government responds. It's your time to be informed. Don't miss Bonga Nagava every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Semana Spokes.
Spring Festival, with its origins in the last days of winter thousands of years ago, when every family lit a welcoming fire. Today, that welcome is brought to the stage of the CMG Spring Festival Gala. This is where it gets cool. When the future meets timeless Eastern aesthetics. This is where we feel the warmth. When every voice has a story to tell, and every voice is heard. And this is where the celebrations heat up. When the excitement blazes across mountains and seas. In China, around the world, wherever you are, when the CMG Spring Festival Gala begins, you are coming home.
When did you start to marry kids?
When did I start?
When did you start to marry kids?
I don't marry kids. I marry mature women.
Who brought you that child, my daughter?
Who brought you that my daughter?
Hey, who brought you? Wewe ndio unajifanya vile unachua sana.
Sijifanyi.
Wewe ni pipi yangu.
Arda.
Bana polisi wewe ni pipi yangu.
Mimi siwezi kuwa bibi yako.
Very good. Kuna mtoto yako tulipeana.
Si ni wewe ulikula deposit ya mtoto.
Si wewe na hiyo mtomo yako ukiniambia tuoze huu mtoto tupate pesa.
Mimi saa ngapi?
Kawena.
Mwezi wangu atarake muntoke ngakiringa.
Wewe mzee, mko na watoto wangapi? Wewe na huyu bibi yako.
Mimi tuko na watoto nani?
Na
Mimi nakupenda. Jehova Rafa, nikikuita nimepona.
We live in a generation where we love trends, we love vibes, we love following what is happening on social media, on TikTok. What is vibe? When you hear the word vibe, what do you really think about?
It's very much being in your comfort zone to me. It's a feeling that is enjoyable for you in the situation that you're in.
Yes, something can feel right, can feel fun. Hiyo Kenya umesema, and not be right. Yes.
Whenever you find yourself questioning a specific trend, I think that's your conscience telling you this is not right.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Allah alimwamuru ajenge safina kubwa ambayo aliweza kuwaingiza binadamu na pia wanyama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aliteremsha mvua na mafuriko makubwa ambayo yaliweza kuwasomba wale wote waliokuwa hawajapanda kwenye jahazi lile.
Ni mambo gani ukiwa nayo kama mwanadamu utakuwa umepata faida kubwa hapa duniani
na kesho akhira.
Na ikukataze maovu. Alhasru, jipambe na tabia njema, kusema ukweli, kuwa na rahma, uwe mtu wa kusamehe. Alhasru, mtu mwenye kutoa ile amana, kujipamba na tabia njema.
Masjid ni kitovu cha mshikamano, ni mahali ambapo familia nzima hukutana